Welcome to episode 56 of Everything Sports with Aman and Evan. I'm your host, Aman Carney,
And I'm your co-host, Evan Garber.
and we talk about the hottest topics in sports over the course of the past week. And in today's episode, we're just going to be pretty much reacting to Game 5 of the NBA Finals where the Warriors beat the Celtics 104-94. But before we get into it, make sure to follow us on Twitter because we post during the games, we retweet, and we just share our thoughts about the game. But mainly we save it for the podcast. And now, let's just get straight into it. The Warriors won by 10 despite shooting 9 for 40 from 3. 3-point shooting team. Shooting 9 for 40 from 3 and still winning an NBA Finals game. What is your reaction to that?
That's just insane. And I don't really know what to think about it, honestly. I still can't believe that they actually won that game considering how poorly they shot. But it's mostly because Boston just shot themselves in the foot. They weren't making their shots much either, except in the third quarter. They turned the ball over way too much, and they couldn't make the free throws again. So that really come back to haunt them. I think they had, let's see, how many turnovers did they have yesterday? They had 18 turnovers yesterday. You're not going to win a game that way, obviously. And then the rebounding game, the Warriors, they didn't do a whole lot. They didn't do that much great rebounding, but they stayed close with Boston, which obviously is a huge factor. Usually when Boston wins the game, they're leading in the rebounding category. And part of that was Gary Payton. Gary Payton had an insane game today. It just shows how great of an impact he has on a team.
Yeah, and we still got out rebounded, but again, Andrew Wiggins, I feel like not much is talked about him because obviously Steph has been having an incredible NBA Finals. He went 0 for 9 from 3, a streak of 233 straight games of making a 3 in the game is broken, but it is what it is. You can't say, I'm seeing on Twitter everywhere, Skip Bayless saying, could Wiggins win the Finals MVP over Steph? No, he can't. No, we can't. Steph still had 16 points and 8 assists. And yes, Steph was averaging 34.3, 50% from 3, 50% from the field. And now, he's down to 46.6, round number 47, 42 from 3. He's still averaging 30.6 points, 5.6 rebounds, 4.6 assists. That's MVP numbers. And Wiggins, credit to him, has been clamping Tatum all series. And I feel like if you want to actually turn it into a debate, I feel like the people will say, oh, Wiggins is clamping Tatum, so he's going to win it. And in 2015, Iguodala himself admitted he shouldn't have won Finals MVP. If they're just going based off of who won and you're giving it to the best player on the winning team, then obviously, Steph in 2015. But Finals MVP, everyone knows LeBron James was averaging insane numbers in the NBA Finals. If it's a Finals MVP, then you give it to the best player in the Finals, and that was LeBron James. The best player in this Finals is Stephen Curry, because without Curry, the series would be 3-2, Boston leading, instead of 3-2 Warriors winning with a Game 6 Clay in their back pocket. So, I'll just give you some stats here. Yes, this is Jason Tatum's first Finals, and there was a stat where I saw Kobe, Shaq, and all the greats struggling in their first finals. But I mean, I was talking to a Celtics fan on Instagram after the game last night. I'm not saying this is the feeling of all Celtics fans, but this was their opportunity. I'm not saying it's over. The series is obviously not over, but this was their opportunity to win the NBA Finals this year. Chris Middleton was hurt for Milwaukee. You can't say they would have beat Milwaukee. I mean, they still could have, obviously, but there's a case to believe Milwaukee would have beat Boston, more so than Boston still would have won. And then Miami Heat were hobbled, as lopsided that series was. It wasn't lopsided because it went to game 7. Every game was a blowout until we got to game 7. So that just shows you something. The Celtics have unbelievable chemistry too, I feel like, to get to this point, because Al Horford revived his career in Boston, but Jason Tatum, he's shooting 5 for 21, which is 23.8% in the fourth quarter of this finals. And the Boston Celtics, before game 4, was they were plus 40. They were outscoring the Warriors by 40 points in the fourth quarter, and now they've lost the fourth quarter combined the past 2 games by 18 points. What do you think of the Celtics' fourth quarter struggles we're seeing these past 2 games? Because they beat the Warriors in the fourth quarter, the first 4 games, I'm pretty sure.
It's very interesting how that plays out. I mean, you have one of the clutchest guys in basketball in Jason Tatum, but he hasn't been that clutch guy this series. And I think you got to give all the credit to Steve Kerr. He's adjusting to just to the game. Like last game, obviously, he took Draymond off most of the quarter, and that helped the Warriors win. And then now you have Gary Payton playing a lot of minutes. You have, sorry, you had Otto Porter playing a good amount of time rather than the usual Kevon Looney. But then he saw that they needed to put Kevon Looney back in because they couldn't get any rebounds and the defense wasn't very good at times in the fourth quarter. So they put Kevon Looney back in. And that just shows you that Steve Kerr is one of the greatest coach of all time. I think that's pretty safe to say. He's about to win another championship with this team. And sure, you can say, oh, he has Klay Thompson, he has Stephen Curry, he has Draymond Green. But he has evolved some of these players into like potential all-stars or even revived their careers like Gary Payton. Gary Payton is just some guy, honestly. But now he's revived his career, and now he's known as one of the greatest defenders in the NBA. So just give all this. I honestly give all the credit to Steve Kerr.
Yeah, and he did face tons of criticism after game 3 because, I mean, we all know it. I talked about it in the last podcast. Both of us talked about it. Draymond's been doing terrible. There's no other way to say that. He's been doing terrible. And Steve Kerr is finally making those adjustments because I texted them in this. I feel like one of the flaws about Steve Kerr is he'll stick to the game plan even if it's not working. As in, he's going to give Steph his normal rest. He's going to give everyone his normal rest no matter what. And that's been one of the most annoying things. And I feel like we've lost games because of that. And now having the guts to bench, or not really bench, but limit Draymond's minutes in the fourth, especially knowing who Draymond is, that's a lot of credit to Kerr for making these adjustments. And in 2015, I'm pretty sure I mentioned it last episode, the Warriors were down 2-1 twice in the playoffs and came back to win 3 straight. Yes, I know LeBron didn't have Kyrie and Kevin Love. But if that's still experience being down 2-1. You were down 2-1 either way, and you won 3 in a row. Against Memphis, you were down 2-1 and you won 3 in a row. So, I mean, it's just experience. I know defense win championships, but championship DNA is prevailing big time this series because part of the problem is the Celtics on offense, when they won these two games, this series, they've moved the ball around. They've made extra passes. They've passed up good shots and the great shots. But then in their losses, there's too many players playing hero ball. Like Marcus Smart shooting an ill-advised shot. Tatum and Brown isoing and it goes nowhere. And this is part of the Warriors' defense. And if you ask me this series, the Warriors look like they have the better defense than the league's best defense, which is impossible. But I mean, we're here. I don't know the exact stats, but I mean, still, like the Warriors in game 5, points in the paint, they scored 50 and Boston 36. In these NBA finals, the team that has gotten more points in the paint have won the game. So, I mean, I know the statistics don't tell everything, but I mean, like Boston has more second chance points, and Boston missed such a golden opportunity to go up 3-2 because I know it's game 6. There's Klay Thompson and Steph isn't going to have another terrible game. I'm predicting Steph and Klay to each score 30 in this closeout game and win in 6. But I feel like Boston has to stick to what they were doing, which has worked. They're playing hero ball for no reason. When I mean, they were in the game. I'm pretty sure they had a 5-point lead too. They were clearly in the game, and they just started playing hero ball for some reason. And the Warriors 23 assists on the lower end of what they normally get, but Boston 18 assists. Like Boston has to stop playing hero ball, and these players need to know that. I think they'll be back in the finals one of these years, but I feel like the opportunity is closing, and I do feel like the Warriors are going to come out on top. And even though they like closing out series at home, they're going to win game 6 and win the NBA Finals. And Steph will win MVP because he's going to get 30 points in the closeout game. And Jaylen Brown, he was 0 for 5 from 3, 5 for 18 from the field, 18 points for the game. What do you make of Brown and Tatum's performance? Because the Celtics, at some point, they've had to rely on Brown and Tatum, and they've just not really done much. So what do you think of the Stars' performances this entire series?
Yeah, obviously at times they've been the usual selves. They've been the usual all-stars, maybe even superstar selves, but they haven't been what you would want out of your star players in the NBA Finals. I mean, Steph Curry is literally showing what you should be doing if you're a star player in the NBA Finals. You should be averaging 30 points a game. But I think to your point, it is them playing too much hero ball. We've seen at times, especially yesterday in the third quarter, where when they're passing the ball around, they get the open shots and they hit them a lot. And that's how we came back yesterday. That's how they came back down 16, was passing the ball around, waiting for the open shot and hitting it. And that's gonna happen a lot with the Warriors defense because they like to double team, they like to switch a lot and then double team when they're driving to the basket and leave the poor shooter open for 3. But they've shown that they can all hit threes, and that has kept them in the series. If it wasn't for the 3-point shooting, it might be over by now. But yeah, they need to pass the ball around. They need to stop playing hero ball. Of course, you have games where Tatum has dropped 40, 50 points in the regular season, but you're playing against the best defense in the NBA other than yourselves. So you're gonna need to pass the ball around and get that open shot.
Exactly. And I feel like this has been part of the Celtics' downfall in these games. As they've lost back-to-back games for the first time since March, which, I mean, it's honestly credit to them for being amazing because when Jaylen Brown tweeted the energy is about to shift when they were the 11th seed, I don't know if many people believe that. And now they're in the NBA Finals just a few months later. So, I mean, credit for Boston. This has been an entertaining series so far, but Tatum and Brown have to be those reliable superstars that we honestly, well, Brown, I wouldn't call him a superstar. I would call Tatum a borderline superstar, but they're still players you could rely on. Like during the regular season, at the end of games, you could rely on Tatum and Brown. And even at the end of the games that they've won, they've been moving the ball around in the clutch, finding the open man. You saw it when Marcus Smart didn't shoot the three and he took it inside and passed it to Tatum, who eventually won it in game one of the Brooklyn Nets series. So moving the ball around is what Boston should learn to do way more. Because when Steph is 7 for 22 from the field and 0 for 9 from three, and he's still a plus 15, there's a problem over there. Wiggins, 26 points, 13 rebounds. Wiggins was 0 for 6 from three and still 12 of 23 from the field. So Draymond fouled out. Clearly some issues with him. I mean, more fouls than points, I'm pretty sure. So, I mean, it is what it is. Draymond just got to calm down this summer, maybe get better at shooting, because honestly, I'm fine with him not shooting. He just needs to play smart rather than better. And there's a difference between playing better and playing smarter. And he needs to play smarter, and he did that. He definitely did that despite fouling out. So, what do you think happens next game? Do you think the Warriors close it out or bring it back to chase in game 7?
I think the Warriors do win it. I think it'll be a very, very fun game. I think it'll be a high-scoring battle. Tatum's probably going to go off. Jaylen Brown will have 25 points. And then, like you said, probably Curry and Clay will go off as well. But I think the Warriors bench, their co-pieces, they'll prevail over the Celtics bench because, as you saw yesterday, the Celtics bench sometimes they have duds like this,
Yeah.
and that obviously hurts them when you have a great bench like the Warriors.
And I mean, the game to step up was game 5. And again, Tatum shot 50% from the field and 55.6 from three. But the problem is he was 1 for 5 in the fourth quarter. And there's a stat, I couldn't find it. Like in the first quarter, he's like in mid 50s. He shoots really well, right? And then after that, second quarter, like 38th, and it just declines as the game moves on. And I don't know what it is. And the similar could be said for Jaylen Brown. And honestly, Tatum might, if the Celtics somehow pull it out of the hat and win this series, it's honestly a toss-up between Tatum and Brown, because Tatum has had good games, but he hasn't shot the ball well at all. Tatum's been rebounding and assisting more, and that's why they've been winning. So they all need to do that if they have any chance of coming back in the series. So honestly, don't know if you can say Tatum and Brown are going to have a great game, because we all said that before this game. And it was looking like Tatum was going to have a great game. And then if you just look at the stats, 50% shooting, that's really good. 55.6 from three, that's really good. 5 threes, that's really good. 10 rebounds, that's really good. 27 points, that's really good. But the problem is you're 1 for 5 from fourth. So it's not a matter of Tatum and Brown stepping up. It's simply the role players along with Tatum and Brown, playing the basketball they've always been playing in the fourth and not trying to play hero ball immediately. Like the last 8 minutes, I want to say, of game 5, they only scored 5 points. Poor shot selection, hunting for fouls, and playing hero ball was their downfall. But I mean, I agree with you. I said Curry and Clay, 30 points each. Curry's going to get finals MVP, but I agree with you. The Warriors are going to close it out in game 6. And with that, make sure to tune in this Saturday for episode 57 of Everything Sports with Aman and Evan, where we'll either recap the NBA Finals or give you a preview to Game 7, which is on Father's Day in the evening. So we'll look forward to that. Hope you guys have a great week and see you on Saturday.